Hey everybody, Dustin DePirak here, columnist Andy Graham.
Hey folks.
We're not actually in a warehouse, we're actually in the Northwestern press box. I know it looks a little bit sketchy there.
It's a nice
but,
press box, actually.
It is a very nice press box. We just had to move it so the this particular angle looks pretty weird. But anyway, Indiana falls again 44-29 to Northwestern. There was lots of offense in this game, not very much defense. Tackling could have been, slightly better. Indiana gives up first off spots Northwestern 27 points in the first half, and rallied back
in the third quarter. I mean, it was 20-0 at halftime. Then they scored.
20 at halftime.
First
First drive.
of the third quarter.
Yeah, so more or less, so it was 27 nothing early in the third. Indiana battles back, made it a one possession game at one point. Just couldn't make the stops they need to. Had a chance to make it a one possession game again late. Failed.
Yeah, they actually had the ball down
the
one
five.
possession.
Yeah.
I mean, the defense did get it back for them one time, and then they went 3 and out. I mean, they had an incompletion and just didn't do it. But I mean, they made some plays in the second half offensively that at least can give people some hope for the offense at least continuing forward. But
we
those defensive
defense
numbers,
there.
boy,
704 yards on 93 plays.
That's a school record for Northwestern.
Yeah, 394 on the ground. It was pretty bad last year. They gave up 317 on the ground last year, and it didn't get better. It got worse. 394. They also passed for 310. More or less, Kane Coulter and Trevor Siemian just killed them. Really even just a straight-up passing quarterback and a running quarterback. Coulter only threw 3 passes, but he finishes with 169 on the ground, 131 receiving, caught 9 balls for 131 yards, just running out of kind of a slot receiver situation.
Yeah.
Siemian completes 22 for 32,
He looked really
308.
sharp.
Looked really sharp.
Threw really well.
Yeah, but the thing that killed him just over and over and over again
The
was
read
zone read option. Just read between Coulter and Mark, just depending on what kind of pick your poison. Coulter even more than Mark kept killing him. Both of those guys run for over 130. And that looked pretty bad. What did you see, Andy? I guess
it looked like the ends and the edge guys were crashing down all the time.
Really hard.
Hard. And there wasn't a lot of running room inside, but Coulter was left free to go.
Yeah.
And he's so clever with the ball. I mean, a lot of times I didn't blame him for crashing down because I thought the back had the ball.
Me too.
And then all of a sudden Coulter's got it, especially when they did counteraction off it.
Mm-hmm.
My goodness.
Absolutely.
It was really hard to read for the defense, I think. It was hard to find them. And then they got some real quicks. I mean, Coulter has some serious speed. And they actually did a fairly decent job on Mark. I mean, Mark came in averaging 5 yards a carry and averaged 4.8 today. And it looked like to me that they had a guy shadowing him, although what Kevin said after the game was it was more schematic.
Yeah,
it was more schematic. But nevertheless, it was Kane Coulter's day today. I mean, he was just phenomenal. Mm-hmm. And once again, how much of that was questionable play by Indiana or just great play by him?
There were a few occasions where they should have had a guy down and they didn't.
A lot of times that was just.
And they were blocked really well.
And it was just brilliant stuff. I mean, he got a great block on his last touchdown by a wideout. The Indiana safety closed well and was coming up, and
Demetrius Fields
just took him out.
Yeah.
And so really good execution by Northwestern. I mean, from an Indiana defensive standpoint, it's hard. It's hard to rationalize away 704 total yards. I will say this though: Northwestern ran 93 plays. And that's a lot.
A ton.
And I think that's part of what happens when you have two teams of this style of offense playing, where it really does stress the defense. When you got 93 snaps,
when you're running that much tempo.
They actually had some stops. I mean, Northwestern punted a couple of times. IU created 3 turnovers. Yeah. They still give up 704 yards in part because so many plays are being run.
Yeah,
that's not
true.
meaning to excuse the lack of successful play on the part of the defense. But it does. I just want to point that out. That's part of that.
There were 160 plays in 60 minutes of football here. You're talking
and
almost 3 plays a minute.
1,129 yards combined.
Yeah.
So it was that kind of game, at least in the second half. And I think I also think that from a Northwestern point of view, offensively, I mean they scored 59 last year and they scored 44 this year. So if you're trying to come up with a reason to think that Indiana wasn't as bad defensively as they were last year, there's at least that.
There's still. It is a situation where they're better, but they're such a long way from where they were to being good. But no, I think what you said about Coulter was really. I think I've seen faster quarterbacks. I mean, I think Denard Robinson is more of a threat with his own read option, and guys like Pat White, really the guys who played under.
I don't know if I've seen more clever.
Yeah, no, that's what I was about to say. I don't know that I've seen somebody execute it better to the point that you really don't know where the ball is. I mean, he was so good just in terms of ball handling.
We have a pretty good view from up here, and we could.
Yeah,
tell
it was
all the
it was
time,
great.
so.
I mean, it was really amazing just how good he was at just faking everybody out and being able to change direction with it and be able to go different maybe from where the play, not where the play was called, but to be able to totally counter. Where the ball was going to have everybody go left to go follow Venrick Mark and then himself go right and have nobody there. So many times.
So many times. And the other big the other big story I think today is Indiana's quarterback.
Yeah, we need to make that. I was about to make that transition. Cam Kaufman, very big fall off from what we've seen from Cam Kaufman before.
Yeah.
I mean, he just seemed to constantly make bad reads. Now, in some cases, I think there were some play calls that didn't help him. There were some third downs where they sent a lot of guys deep. There wasn't so much of an intermediate route or a sort of safety valve that he could rely on. He just kind of had to go big with it. But he made some poor reads, some poor throws.
Yeah,
he just had a rough day.
He did not look good. I mean,
and Nate Sudfeld looked better.
And he did. And I mean, Cam had played very well up until this point. So,
yeah, no, he had.
You know,
and
it just could be an anomaly and one of those days. But I mean, he looked confused. He looked like he lacked confidence, both in terms of his ability to execute and maybe what the play was. It looked
it's the
like,
first time I'd seen him look lost. I mean, he hadn't looked lost before. I mean, even when he'd been out there before, he looked confident. Even in practice, he always looked like he had a handle, and today he just didn't look like he had a handle.
And I don't know what the coaches will say when they see the films, but looking at it, and we're not coaches, but looking at it from up here, it looked like there were plays to be made that either he missed or Indiana just wasn't making the whole first half.
Right.
And then even when they had a play made, like Kofi Hughes made a great play on a throw, they ended up missing a field goal. I mean, they just had a very erratic and not successful first half. And there's just no question that when Sudfeld came in, for whatever reason, maybe the play calling was a little better, maybe they got lucky, maybe
they put him in positions. I think what really happened was they put their guys in position to make plays better. I mean, there were, it wasn't just that they weren't deep balls, that they weren't balls that they could make plays on. I mean, it seemed like every time in the first half when they had a third down, they would either throw deep or they would throw way too shallow.
Right.
And somehow it just worked out that some of these, they put these guys in positions where they can make plays. They ran a lot of swing stuff that I think, opened some guys up.
Northwestern didn't cover the backs very well all day.
They didn't. Houston had a really good day. Was able, I think he finished this weekend with 4 for 22 catches. But those seem like loosened some guys, loosened some offense up.
But you have to give
Sudfeld
credit.
Kofi Hughes, absolutely.
I mean,
Sudfeld
the wideouts really made some phenomenal plays. I still don't know how Latimer made that catch. I watched the replay. It's a phenomenal catch.
It's unbelievable.
Might even
That's
have been
probably the best
offensive
catch.
interference, except he came through the player to the ball. He got the ball, which I think is legal. I don't know. But in any case, a phenomenal catch.
Yeah.
Kofi Hughes made some phenomenal plays. But you do have to give Sudfeld for credit, like on that post pattern touchdown to Kofi, 35-yarder, I think it was. Both of them read the defense well. Defense bit. Normally, Kofi said IU runs that post a little flatter, but he read it vertically, and so did Sudfeld.
Right.
And
throw
that's
it
what
over
Kofi
top.
said. It was perfect. He said Nate read it, threw it vertically, which was the perfect thing to do. And so it's encouraging. If you see a true freshman come in and make a good read like that and make a precise throw like that.
I think we've said it coming from the beginning. I mean, as much as Kaufman is the solid, adequate guy, Sudfeld is the one with the higher ceiling, with the greater potential.
Right.
And I think everybody sort of looked at him the first couple of weeks, especially when we saw him in the preseason. We didn't get a ton of preseason time to see him, but it was pretty clear that he was swimming, that he wasn't entirely sure where the ball was going, what exactly he had to do, which is pretty typical for a true freshman. It's amazing, and he even mentioned it today. I asked him, how much have you developed in a couple of weeks? He says it's night and day. It's totally different, and it is. I mean, when you look at him, and this is a little bit typical when a guy gets thrown in to action in a game like he did against UMass. They're usually not prepared. They haven't been taking snaps. They haven't been really prepared for this. And Sudfeld said, I was thinking I was probably going to redshirt, and then I get thrown in there, and I wasn't ready. But after 2 weeks of really 3 weeks of really kind of getting thrown in there, especially during the bye week when Cam Kaufman was healing from the hip pointer, he's really had a lot of time to mature fast, and he has. And you've seen so much of a difference. And I think, again, I think most people thought, okay, he's the most talented guy, but he's ever going to be ready this year.
Right.
And it really because he's been thrown in there and he has to be, and all of a sudden, and when Wilson said this is the first time Wilson's made this point, really up until this week it was like, Cam's the guy. Today he was like, I told these guys they're both starters. So that shows that the quarterback, one, it was different, as is pretty typical. The depth chart is always different than he tells us before the game. And it's different from now on in. Now Indiana has a 2-quarterback system.
And whoever playing quarterback next week, it'll be challenged because they play Michigan State's defense, which is one of the best units in the league without doubt. And so we'll see whether the progress can continue for either one of the young quarterbacks.
They're going to find out about real defense. I mean, even these guys haven't faced a good defense yet.
No.
Not at all. Ball State's not a good defense. They're a great offense, not a good defense. UMass, obviously,
Sorry to interrupt.
not very good. But these guys are about to find out.
I want to give one last shout out to Tevin Coleman, the 94-yard touchdown return
At home.
At home in front of
Dropped
home
the
folks.
ball.
Tinley Park guy, and his parents were in the crowd. So good for you, Tevin. Nice job.
Tevin, yeah, he was pretty scared for a moment because he dropped the
He
ball.
dropped
And
the ball.
when 11 guys are running at you and they drop the ball, it usually doesn't end well. But it ended well from him.
He showed some speed.
But one way or another, Indiana's 2-2, 0-1 in the Big Ten, but got a chance again next week.
See ya.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.